I think has worked reasonably well.
Mr. Murthy, I know that you've always been in favor of a voluntary, consensual approach as far as corporate social responsibility is concerned. When we talk about governance systems to ensure corporate accountability, perhaps technology will ensure that nobody can actually be in hiding forever. So instead of focusing on adding on more regulation, the fact is that technology makes the whole process more transparent. So do you believe that the power of technology will actually ensure accountability better than regulation?
In some sense, you're right. I think technology enhances transparency. Technology brings the death of distance, and technology therefore enhances accountability. So therefore I am all for a voluntary system of compliance by the corporations insofar as corporate social responsibility is concerned, and as long as they are asked to report what they have done, I think that itself will be a first good step for corporations to do more and more and more to gain the goodwill of the society. At the end of the day, we have to realize that there is no corporation in the world which has survived and succeeded over a long period of time without earning the goodwill of the society.
Now, I was going to add one sentence to that, but I agree entirely with what Mr. Murthy has said. But we also have to understand that the social media, the computers and all these are tools. You have to have the mindset, the approach he has described now to be able to get into social responsibility, determined to use transparency as a powerful tool to report, and by comparison push other companies to go the same direction.
But do you believe post the 2008 financial crisis, where capitalism as we know of it today has been questioned, there has been a crisis of capitalism in a sense, the message that both of you are talking about has been reinforced, that corporate leaders around the world have now realized and understood that they cannot run away from corporate social responsibility, they cannot run away from creating sustainable businesses, from creating fair, ethical businesses? Or do you think that this is only till the next crisis and again this message is going to be forgotten?
No, I think during the last crisis, 2008, 2009, companies became very much aware of the crisis. They also realized that they had lost the trust of the people, particularly bankers, and that something needed to be done. That's when the G20 were brought together, and lots of discussions about reforming the system was raised. But of course, now that things seem to be going a little better, people seem to be backing away from looking at the issues and putting in place the systems and the controls and the regulations that are required. I hope that will not be allowed to happen, and that the right regulatory systems will be put in place to ensure that we don't repeat what happened in the next 10 years or so.
You know, one of the other casualties post the 2008 crisis has been really the negotiations as far as climate change is concerned, because suddenly climate change, which was anyway sort of low on the order of priorities as far as political institutions were concerned, vanished off the radar because people had fiscal challenges to deal with, people had the impending crisis to deal with. Are you feeling more confident that we could perhaps see a positive solution emerge as far as ongoing negotiations are concerned by 2015?
I'm not sure it's going to be that easy. You are right that the climate change campaign has run out of steam in some quarters. Europe, for example, was very active and was leading the effort, and I hope it will come back to lead again. When there is economic crisis, there is tendency for people to think, let's focus on solving the crisis rather than worry about climate change. What they don't understand is that climate change is with us, and it's one of the most dangerous phenomena that we are facing today. It's an all-encompassing threat to our security, our source of food, our freshwater sources. So we need to take it seriously. But I would also say it's not an issue for governments alone. Individuals must get involved. Individuals must pay attention to the environment. They have power. As individuals, you and me have power. We have power by the choices we make, what we buy when we go to the supermarket, the way we use our vote, what we tell the politicians about environment. So we also have to get involved.
But do you really believe, Mr. Annan, that we are going to see any positive movement on issues like subsidies as far as fossil fuels are concerned, whether it's the developed nations or the developing nations? It's an even bigger challenge for the developing nations because, you know, fossil fuels are to a large extent subsidized. Do you really see any sort of positive transition emerging there as far as crucial and controversial issues like subsidizing fossil fuels are concerned?
It's a tough issue, but it will have to be dealt with. We have to really get across the message that there is a cost and that the polluter has to pay. And the question of subsidies will have to be tackled by many governments. Some have already begun tackling it. My own government recently removed subsidies to the chagrin and of the workers. But it has to happen. What we are not going to get is a big universal agreement next year, this year or next. But I see that many governments are taking individual initiatives to tackle climate change. China is doing it, Denmark is doing it, and I'm sure there are pockets in India that is doing it too. And eventually we will need to find a way of linking up. And so the fact that we are being slow internationally and on a universal agreement does not mean we should not do anything.
On that note, we'll take a break here on this special edition of The Appointment. We continue our conversation with Kofi Annan and Narayana Murthy when we return.